Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I put a poll out on my channel some time ago asking you guys what you wanted to see a video of next. And the majority of you guys wanted me to take a look at a Power Ranger anniversary season for my next big video. So, we're doing that now, and today we are going to be taking a look at Power Rangers in Space. Now, this season... Wait, Power Ranger Nerd! You can't do this! Who are you? I guess I'm you. But I'm also a human representation of the fan base. Huh, okay. Anyway, you can't review this season for that topic. It's not an anniversary season. We want you to review something more like Wild Force or Super Ninja Steel. Okay, I see your point, but... while this is the 6th season, I still consider it an anniversary season. Why? Well, anniversary seasons bring back a plethora of the previous season Rangers and characters for a special team-up, like Adam and Justin. So, check. They also use an opportunity to have a story that utilizes and brings a sort of sequel to the entirety of the series, like having this be the final chapter of the Zordon era. Check. And they have screen time to show how both the older teams still got it, but also how awesome the new team is. Like bringing in every single Ranger and ally up to this point to fight alongside them against evil, and having the Space Rangers give up the secret to help save the world. So checkmate! That is why this is an anniversary season. So let's take an in-depth look. Now, this is always near the top of my list for the best seasons of Power Rangers. The biggest reason for this is because it was originally supposed to be the final season, so they pulled all the stops. I also love this season because it's a perfect combo of Power Rangers and Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Whatever! I love watching these characters and stories, notably Andros' story of family, Alpha finally having a more appropriate voice than that hip-hop voice in Turbo, and Elgar finally having hilarious moments and lines, not just being the butt of jokes. Okay, he still is, but he's the only primary villain who's actually making jokes. And not to mention, this season upped the drama and action to a tremendous degree. I also gotta say, this was also the last season to include bloopers during the end credits. A slight tradition since Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, and I really miss these. Bring these back, please! Now, when taking a look at the characters, there's already something that needs to be addressed. 4 of the 6 Rangers are from the previous season of Turbo, which I will talk about in another video. However, it's a little easier for me to talk about them in this video, as they're here for the entire season and not just half of it. So I'm going to be a little more in-depth as we learn more about them throughout the season. I also want to note how funny it is when we see them just stop their search for Zordon for an entire episode for some reason. Let's start with Andros, played by Christopher Kamen Lee, who is the biggest jerk in the show, keeping secrets like his sister Carone and the comatose Zhane. What else is he hiding on this ship? The Holy Grail? However, I do love his relationship with Ashley that grows throughout the season. He can also be a bit hot-headed and go into situations without thinking, and his uncharacteristic cheerful nature is from the Sentai footage, which I feel like must have been very hard to adapt into a darker tone. And like I said in my Dino Thunder review, the main character of each season, in my opinion, is the Red Ranger. And 90% of this season is focused on 3 things. Andros' personal mission to find his sister, his best friend being the 6th Ranger, and ultimately being the one to save the entire universe. He's also quite possibly the most serious Ranger, but he's got competition from later seasons for how serious he can be. But Chris was also isolated from his cast members at the start of the show because
I was actually told not to hang out with any of the other Power Ranger actors when I first showed up. They were like, don't have anything to do with them. And I was like, why? And they were like, well, your character wouldn't like them.
And he hated the decision to do this. His hair was also bleached for this season, but he was given a wig in following appearances.
Yeah, the hair didn't help either, yeah. The bleach was not fun.
Do not do it. You will kill your hair, and it also sucks.
My hair grows back really fast, so I had to keep getting the roots done like every 3 weeks or so. And it's hours to get that done, and my head was like this red. The scalp was like this red.
They were like, hey, so how do you feel about wearing a wig? And I was like, yeah, whatever.
And then when I landed in California, they said, nah, now it's bleach, baby. And yeah, that was all their idea. And that was easily the most painful thing I ever went through in my life.
Yeah. I think they got the point. Also, I saw a lot of Power Ranger-related convention panels, and it seems Chris has some jerk characteristics, like Andros.
I am very good at acting like an asshole.
Moving on to the Earth Rangers, let's start with TJ, played by Selwyn Ward.
First black leader of the Power Rangers.
What was that? Well, anyway, he was the Red Ranger in Turbo, and is now relegated to Blue Ranger. But Selwyn said at later convention panels,
the way it was explained to me actually is that I was still the leader of the Earth Rangers. So
not to mention, he's got some awesome moments in the show where he's willing to sacrifice his own life to save his teammates and do what's necessary to save the day. Additionally, he's almost always the first one to go with Andros on more dangerous missions. And it's very nice seeing them form a strong friendship and even bromance. Lastly, he shows why he's still the leader of the Earth Rangers, as he came up with the ideas on how to beat the Psycho Rangers in 5 of a Kind. Though, I have no idea how they all wore the same color. Next up is Carlos, played by Roger Velasco, who was the Green Ranger last season and is now the Black Ranger? Why? Well, luckily, I have the answer right here, and it's quite simple, really. See, the in-universe reason is that notable in this season, he's usually the first one to take charge when the situation calls for it. However, there are a few points where he seems to take charge instead of Andros. But it was upon further research I found an answer that explains this. In the Parent series,
Mega Ranger!
Carlos's counterpart was kind of the leader of the team, acting a bit more like a ranger and more leader-like than Red. But Carlos's biggest episode is Always a Chance, where he second-guesses his own actions and shows fragility in his confidence. But I have problems with his arc here. In my opinion, it comes too late in his story. This is actually my biggest problem with a lot of multi-season stories. The characters just go through transformative arcs too late in the game. And it also seems that Roger was the biggest goofball in the cast, as he has more bloopers than any of his other castmates. Next is Ashley, played by Tracy Lynn Cruz. The main thing I love about her is that she has such a big heart, but she can be annoyed rather easily, and even she didn't think Astronema could be good again. And on a different note, during the events of Turbo, she seemed to have a blooming relationship with Carlos, but here, she does a complete 180, ditches him to the friend zone, and falls in love with Andros. Well, I'm glad she isn't in Marvel because she might have left Andros for Thanos. She then goes back to Carlos for like 10 minutes to get her grandma off her back in the worst episode of the season. But her relationship with Andros is adorable to watch, with a special moment for her birthday when Andros gave her a very special gift.
A rare gem from KO35.
And she will quite literally go out of her way to comfort Andros on his bad days, even if he just wants to be alone, showing her pure heart. Then there's Cassie, played by Patricia Jia Lee, who's the biggest heart of the team, but aside from that, she doesn't really have much development. Her big heart is noticeable to both Lenny and Waspicable, but she can also have a very effective kill face. And even with the end of the Ranger's Leap of Faith, after she proved herself, Cassie is the first to believe Caron's good intentions. And throughout the course of the season, she's shown to still have feelings towards the Phantom Ranger. However, she can be very heated, like when she and Ashley argued about their ship duties. There, Ashley had to run a systems check and Cassie had to clean the whole ship. Wait, what? If you ask me, that's a little unbalanced. And there should have been a better way to divide the ship duties. It might have also hit a little harder if their personalities were more distinguished from each other. Like if Cassie was more uptight and tidy, where Ashley could have been more laid back and free thinking. Finally, there's Zhane, played by Justin Nemo, who is both awesome and dorky. He's also said to be the strongest ranger in the universe, but he struggles during a lot of his fights, which, I get it. It's to point out how the Rangers are literally the last hope of the universe, but he's shown to be weaker than the Psycho Rangers. Seriously, how is he that weak? Well, I guess it could also be that he was in stasis for 2 years after suffering injuries in the past. But I do find it funny that he almost dies in his first episode. And I really love his weapon, with its blue blade and being a sweet sword blaster, and a sick finishing move. He also had a weird problem where he'd demorph in his first fights, but it was so epic when he just goes into a lightning storm to re-energize his morpher. However, you may also notice that Zhane is a lot taller than the other Rangers in some episodes. Well, in Mega Ranger, the Silver Ranger is a lot older than the main 5, and the writers took so many liberties when creating this show. Which I may get into in another video if enough people are interested. But here's the gist. Mega Ranger Zhane works for the company the Rangers are with, so he'd be absent because he's working, explaining why he'll run off or is only in the Megazord battles. But it's also hilarious when Zhane discovers Astronema and Caron are the same person, and he has to tell Andros about his quote-unquote date with her. I should also mention that Chris was explicitly told not to socialize with even Justin.
They had actually told Chris, the Red Ranger, don't like that guy, don't hang out with him, don't go to his house, and don't talk to him.
Which makes zero sense, as they're supposed to be best friends. Next, let's talk about their allies, starting with Alpha 6 and DECA, voiced by Wendy Lee and Julie Maddalena, respectively. Now, I 100% despised Alpha in Power Rangers Turbo, and thank goodness they changed his voice. He now sounds more like a parent/friend than an 80s hip-hop teacher. Seriously, I'm so glad they took out his yo 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 catchphrase. And DECA is an emotionless computer, but can have a funny moment or two, sometimes even having quite a sassy attitude. However, on my rewatch, I discovered I completely forgot that Alpha had a fight with Ecliptor. That is how pointless he can be. He either has forgettable fights, or he's nowhere to be found in certain episodes. Seriously, where the heck is he during the events of Countdown? And the same goes for DECA. She mostly just states the obvious and is kind of unnecessary. The KO-35 Resistance fighters are also a good addition to reconnect Andros with his home, as well as expanding the Power Ranger universe. But outside of Commander Kinwan, which is just due to his voice, they're just forgettable. It's also worth noting they're back in Angel Grove when on Earth, but we don't see Ernie's juice bar anymore. Instead, we got the Surf Spot, run by Adele, who's such a kind and gentle soul, and she feels like a breath of fresh air, letting another actor take a turn at the Ernie role. Seriously, if you were to just listen to the tones and lines, not the voices, of these two, I don't think you could tell the difference. And they do represent what the Rangers are ultimately fighting for. And then we got Sylvie. Oh my gosh, this kid was so annoying in her first episode. The short of it is, Carlos had to transform in a photo booth, and his picture was taken during the morph. Okay, I think you have to put in money to have it take your picture, but sure, I can go with it. Sylvie finds the pictures and blackmails him to do things with her, promising not to tell if he does. Then, she simply and a little selfishly sounding says,
I want a rock. A rock from the moon.
Seriously? After everything you just put him through?
Just one rock? Why not the whole moon?
Yeah, I'm with Carlos on this one. While it's revealed later that she has a tragic backstory, she deserved every single moment of that punishment for taking advantage of him all day and even threatening him. However, she's much better in her second appearance, where she's written so much better. Confident and kind of a smart, snarky kid, as if top of her class and she knows it. Plus, this scene just makes me laugh.
What about number 3?
Shh, Sylvie, not now, okay? What about number 3?
And I also love her relationship with Carlos in this episode, as he takes on more of a guardian role, looking after her as if they were siblings, which, oh my gosh, would have been a much better storyline in my opinion. And finally, we gotta talk about Bulk and Skull, played by Paul Schreier and Jason Narvey. But they aren't alone this time. Now, they have an additional character named Professor Phenomenus, played by Jack Banning. These guys are the season's comedy trio. And the professor's whole shtick here is that he thinks everything is an alien. A bunny, a beehive, a watermelon, and even a sign are all aliens.
Perhaps to the untrained eye.
Oh, hardy har. Yeah, I'm not much of a fan of this phenomenal guy, as his alien jokes get very old very fast. But he does have this funny line.
What should our viewers be doing?
They should panic.
I'm not kidding, that legit gets a smirk on my face every time I see it. And like in the other seasons with these two, their comedy is about 75-25, with some moments just not going anywhere. But they're still charming. Plus, their theme music has changed a bit, sounding like their original score if they just added Mr. Phenomena to it. And it doesn't really work for me. But I will say, my favorite joke from them was when they somehow just got their pants to stand up on their own. But the season shines because of the villains. And what I love is that we see all the villains, even the destroyed monsters from previous seasons. And, as usual, the designs, makeup, and prosthetics are amazing. However, while this is cool, Divatox is still annoying, and why aren't there later villains here? Like Lothar and Sledge. But this also leads to a problem in Dark Spectre, the Monarch of Evil. Okay, how does this monarchy work? Gosh, what am I saying? That's an entire can of worms for another video. I should also mention that there's a lot of American footage used here, which is also in Dino Thunder, Ninja Storm, Turbo, and even the next season, Lost Galaxy. And the Quantrons are so cool with their design, but I can't tell if they're supposed to be machines or enlisted beings. I mean, they move like machines and are called machines or tin cans like once or twice, but Andros and Zhane literally wear their armor as disguises. And finally, there's Elgar, who was tortured in the previous season, but it's much funnier here as he's tortured like every 3 episodes instead of every episode. And here's what even the main villain had to say about that.
It was really fun to torture Elgar.
So yeah, let's talk about Astronema, played by Melody Perkins, who is so much fun to watch. I know for a fact I should mention her rivalry with Divatox, which is the only time I smirk at the latter. And it leads to a 1-second annoyed smile, which is hilariously cute. So yeah, let's talk about that. Because Astronema makes me feel things that a main villain shouldn't.
Dangerous and hot.
You said it, buddy. Seriously, how is it that she can make every movement and line somehow sexy, with even her outfits leaving little to the imagination?
You failed me once too many times, Liz Wizard.
Oh my good gosh, why does her even threatening destruction sound sexy? But she does show a very sick sense of humor when she switched bodies with Ashley, leading to this hilarious foreshadowing.
I wouldn't want to be a Power Ranger anyway.
Yeah, I doubt the creators had any idea on what they would eventually do when they wrote this episode, but it's still fun. Then there's also her love for Zhane, which makes me feel sad and hopeful for her, as this is the first glimpse of who she really is.
You're Corone, my sister.
Ah, yeah, real original, guys. Okay, in all honesty, when I first watched this season, I did not see this coming. However, sadly, I can't take her seriously as Corone when she's wearing those ridiculous-looking wigs. And it may sound weird, but I kind of like her Astronema outfits a lot more. But I also find it more hilarious that she's Corone for like half an episode. And I don't like her cybernetic appearance, as she now sounds too robotic and not enough fun. But it does lead to more interesting stories concerning her loyalties. And the final two things I should mention are that her Locket memory theme is just beautiful. And the fact that she kept a straight face while working alongside guys in these ridiculous monster suits is very commendable. Then we got Ecliptor, voiced by Lex Lang, who is the beautifully designed, cruel, and heartless second-in-command villain of the Dark Fortress. He actually raised Astronema since she was a girl, so pretty much acting as if he were her own father.
Sweet dreams.
Okay, is it just me, or did he deliver it like he was going to poison her? Aside from that awkward note, he is very protective of his adoptive daughter. And we see very early on that Ecliptor, while evil, is honorable. Heck, he even saved Andros, which made me think that he knew the truth about Astronema when he found her as a child.
You were born, not built. Born to be good.
And you were afraid that if I knew, I would become good again.
Yeah, I like that idea, but how did he even know the truth? And later, he even allows Corone to leave with the Rangers, sacrificing himself in one of the saddest scenes in the Power Rangers series. And afterwards, he was cybernetically enhanced to follow only Dark Spectre and Astronema and, Okay, did they just wait until he woke up and moved around the ship before starting the procedure? Did they not have the resources yet? Why the heck did they put that scene in there? But to put it bluntly, I hate him after this. He's just boring. He just stands around for like half the episodes. And his skills and character just go downhill. Like the forgotten fight against Alpha. That just goes to show how worthless he became, because how could he fall for all these tricks? This isn't Power Rangers, it's frickin' Home Alone! Then let's look at the evilest character in all of Power Rangers, with literally no redeeming qualities. Darkonda. Voiced by Steve Kramer. This guy is referred to as a bounty hunter, but he is so evil and loves it, not caring about the consequences. So, more like a mob boss. Seriously, this guy is so evil, even Palpatine is saying, Dude, you need to tone it down. Also, dude, is your sword compensating for something? Okay, well, let's get into his greatest power, his silver tongue, which gets him into Astronema's inner circle, and he's the only character not to be seduced by Astronema. Dang, that's a cold character. He also has a grudge against Andros for some reason, though it's later revealed that he's the one who kidnapped Corone. Wait, then why did he leave it with Ecliptor, his rival? Seriously, these two hate each other so much, it's hilarious. I really should mention that he literally stabs Ecliptor in the back multiple times and even uses him as a human shield. He will literally fight dirty and sell out others just to get what he wants.
They have all tried to destroy me.
Yeah, 'cause you're an asshole. I should also mention his 9 lives ability, which also goes with his final plan, which is to kill Dark Spectre and Astronema and take their place as ruler of the universe, which he puts into action with 1 life left and he fails and dies? No! You think? Pretty sure Patrick would come up with a better plan than that. And his smile is kind of like the Joker's for me, as I kind of want to smile with him. Lastly, for the villains, we gotta talk about the Psycho Rangers. Now, the first thing I noticed is that when listening to convention panels, the actors' voices were heavily altered, and they even did this with Justin, too. I do love their mostly black outfit designs, with the colors on their helmets looking like eyelids. But let's say, hypothetically, that I'm a ranger. How would you guys compare to me?
We're the Psycho Rangers. We're faster than you. Smarter than you.
Stronger than you. But we're evil!
That's a given. But their ability to drain the Rangers' knowledge to know their every move and take down their respective Ranger is terrifying. Yeah, they're adapted to fight their own color, and the Rangers were able to take advantage of this and counter it in 5 of a kind.
You must be the Red Ranger!
That's the body of a female, dude. But it's quite interesting to see their obsession, and it's hilarious to see them use their super speed and cause unnecessary destruction when finding the Rangers.
Did you really think you could fool us with that old trick?
Well, they did. However, it's weird that only Psycho Red is said to be obsessed with destroying the Red Ranger, even by his fellow Psychos, who should be the exact same way.
Your obsession with the Red Ranger could get us all vaporized.
Look who's talking, hypocrite! But it is interesting to see them deceive and backstab each other to further their own agendas. And I kind of like the plot point that their powers come from Dark Spectre, and their battles drain him, showing Astronema's true evil colors. And their power is so immense that even one Psycho is quite a lot for the entire team of Rangers to deal with. I should also mention they don't seem to have a leader between them, constantly vying for dominance. Though it's heavily implied that Red is the leader of the team. And while the Psycho Saga, as I like to call it, is only 6 episodes, they do return as ghosts in Mission to Secret City. Wait, they're ghosts now? That makes no sense whatsoever. But it's pretty cool to show that not even death can stop their obsession. And their final defeat is ingenious, with them revealed to be in Astronema's possession, but then she doesn't do anything with them. And we are going to go over their return when we get to Lost Galaxy. But for now, let's go over the suits, which aren't my personal favorites, with the only unique thing being the extra visor. But even that has no reason to exist. Zhane's suit is actually the most interesting, with the gold and silver motif. But I do like their space civilian, or space villain, suits, especially with the open jackets, and even Zhane's reverse color uniform. However, the one thing that probably aged the worst about the Rangers was the Galaxy Gliders. My gosh, the CGI is terrible, even by the more modern season standards. But let's get to the Battlizer, with the Morpher appearing with the Delta Megaship. And the Battlizer itself is wonderfully built up in Mission to Secret City. It actually wasn't even Andros or any of the other Rangers who activated it, but it was Sylvie, doing what she could to help the Rangers. Now, again, the CGI doesn't hold up very well these days, but I can imagine it looked pretty amazing back then. And not many morphing sequences actually hold up very well from those early days. And this was their first attempt at making a Battlizer, so I can forgive them for that. And this Battlizer is cool, but it's not one of my favorites. Namely, the wings are too big and bulky, and the feet wings are absolutely pointless. But the over-the-top six-pack is hilarious, and the see-through chest piece is cool. Plus, this is a new formula that was created for the show. When the monster is too powerful, the Battlizer is called in. And the Battlizer is American exclusive and began this long tradition. But the first episode shows way too many weapons, making it extremely OP. But I think that was the point. And I only realized in the rewatch that the Battlizer was only in 4 episodes. 4! And it barely comes out to 4 minutes. But once again, it makes sense. This was the first Battlizer, and they didn't want to have it overstay its welcome. But still. Next is the Zords. If we can even talk about them. The Zords and the Megazords are too simple compared to the other seasons. Heck, we don't even get a transformation sequence for the Delta Megazord. It literally just appears as Megazord. But I do like the look of the Astro Delta Megazord, and its finishing move does remind me of the Mega Tigerzord. And they do have cool combos, like using the Mega Winger's wings to add it to the Mega Voyager.
So what do you guys think of my new Mega Winger?
What do they think? They saw it yesterday! And while this has been done in other seasons, I do like that they keep switching up the Megazords, just so that the battles don't get too boring. But let's take a quick look at the team-up episodes of the season. Aside from the finale, which I'll talk about later, there are 3 crossover episodes. Shell Shocked, True Blue to the Rescue, and Always a Chance. Now, I always forget how early in the season they team up with the Ninja Turtles. I am not kidding when I say this is the 4th episode. And it was with a show that I never heard of that tried this as a last hurrah. Which, obviously didn't work. And the other 2 episodes were made to tie up loose ends, but it just raised a lot more questions from me. How does Adam's Morpher still work if the powers were destroyed? Why weren't Stormblaster and Lightning Cruiser brought back for the finale? How does Stormblaster even have Justin's Morpher if the powers were destroyed? But it is cool to see Blake Foster again, and even fun just to make up subtitles for Stormblaster.
You want me to go with you?
And I really love Always a Chance. Mostly because of Adam's return, and even some great lines from the guy. Seriously, this line stuck with me for a long time.
Everybody needs a hand now and then, even a Black Ranger.
And I do love the tension when Adam morphs again. But we all know they weren't going to kill off Adam. He's just too popular and such a great fighter, and how the hell did you get tied up here? Seriously, Johnny Young Bosch is so funny. He's honestly one of the most hilarious Rangers I've seen in any season. And I do always smile whenever I see him. I should also mention the episode with the Phantom Ranger, but he's only there for like 10 minutes, and then he just disappears, only appearing again in Countdown. So I'm not going to focus too much on him, but one, he sounds a lot younger and a lot less powerful than the last season. And two, this season was supposed to have a multi-episode story to reveal his identity, but this ended up being scrapped. Luckily, we do get an answer of sorts in the Power Rangers Universe comics, which I have never read in my life. Though I actually found in some earlier research that Billy was originally supposed to be the Phantom Ranger, and I think that would have been a much better twist. And when talking about the episodes, it's always fun because they rarely use any Sentai footage. No joke, there are multiple episodes where they don't even use any Sentai footage until they go giant. I always love seasons that give us new footage for the Ranger battles. First, let's talk about Never Stop Searching. This is the first of the series-long arc of Andros finding his sister Corone, and it's built up perfectly. Even with Carlos going to bed late for not really any big reason, is a good little plot point that allows him to learn the truth. However, I love the look of KO-35 in later episodes, but we do get a wonderful action scene between Andros and Ecliptor, which Carlos joined halfway through. Now, this personally doesn't make much sense because Carlos doesn't really have much of a connection to Andros here, but it makes more sense in Mega Ranger. There, it's the Black Ranger who is more of the leader, and in the original Mega Ranger episode, Mega Red went to fight on his own, trying to show that he could do anything by himself. But my biggest problem with this episode is that, while we get an explanation for Darkonda being destroyed multiple times, we don't get any reason for how Ecliptor survived being destroyed from his previous episode. Next up is the Barillian Sting, which is also the first appearance of Darkonda in the series. Now, I love this episode because it starts with a mystery on who he is and what the cartoonishly humorous, over-the-top looking bug does. Plus, this episode feels like a horror movie, with Carlos and Cassie becoming humanoid Barillian bugs, and they even pull the Jaws thing of not showing the full monster until about halfway through. And while the sting marks look a little more like zits, in my opinion, I love the transformation makeup, and the build-up is so amazing. Almost like with the build-up to Alien. And, no joke, I jump with Ashley on the bridge here. And oh look, a ranger with his shirt off. Hope that doesn't become a running gag in the series. Also, once again, Alpha is completely useless and does nothing to help.
Oh no, we're doomed!
What do you mean we're doomed? You can hold him off longer than Ashley because you can't get stung. Also, aren't you programmed with martial arts abilities? And I do like that we get a nice moment between Ashley and Andros at the end of the episode. But it focuses less on developing their romance and more on Andros' mission to find his sister. But I do like that we get a scene between the two of them. Then we got one of my favorite episodes in the form of A Date with Danger. Mostly because it's both funny and romantic. This episode is a wonderful Romeo and Juliet story with adorable chemistry, great romance, a freaky makeout session, and, no joke, the only line in the entire series where Elgar is funny.
Where is she? What do I look like, her mother?
And knowing where the series and the characters go makes this episode go up in quality for me. It's also nice to see Zhane cook, though it's also the funny stereotype that guys can't cook, which I take offense at. And it's even funnier when he puts a marshmallow on and just grabs Astronema's staff right in front of her. But I just love the scene between Astronema and Ecliptor, feeling like any family discussion where the child is clearly hiding something. And Ecliptor really feels like a father to Astronema here. And I do find it weird and hilarious that Zhane and Astronema somehow have pictures of each other, But it does come back at the end to give us hope that the two could become a couple. And I also feel so bad for Astronema while she's waiting that I want to be there with her to keep her company. And while their argument breaks my heart every time, I understand that this had to be done to keep the status quo.
Oh, we can't have the villain be with the good guys.
And Zhane's puppy dog eyes while he's moping while the others tried to awkwardly comfort him is so adorably sad and funny too. And then we come to the scariest episode, Silence is Golden. I should start by mentioning that this is Tracy's favorite episode.
Because when Psycho Rangers came in, I did not know if I had a job.
In this episode, the Psycho Rangers have voice recognitions for all the Rangers. And it was on this most recent rewatch that I realized the Psychos haven't even seen the Rangers' faces. But the episode also tricks us at the start, because Cassie and Ashley are shopping at the mall. Seriously, how did they not know the other was there? As soon as Ashley saw the Psychos, she could have grabbed Cassie and run off. Yeah, let's get to the reason why you all remember this episode. This is the episode where the Psycho Rangers take on human form, and it's quite scary. Also, am I the only one who thinks Michael Mays, the actor playing Psycho Black, looks like Doc Brown in this one shot? Also, when Cassie is contacted by Andros and told not to talk at all in the shopping center, I always hold my breath so hard when she walks right past the Psychos. And Cassie was the best one to do this with, as she's kind of the chattiest member of the team. But when she screamed, that was my all hope is lost moment. And it makes me question how far the Psycho Rangers can hear. Is it just for the entire mall? I mean, it doesn't look that big. Are they able to listen in on the entire planet like Superman, or can they just hear everything that's going on in the city? And how are they able to pick up Ashley and Cassie's voices when they're shown to only pick up the voices of those they focus on? Yeah, these are really the only questions that came up when I watched this episode. Oh, but Zhane dressing up as a clown fits his personality perfectly. Either. Oh, but my favorite line from the episode is this one.
Now listen, you psychos.
I mean, they are psycho. Well, Psycho Rangers, but still very psycho. And finally, there's the biggest episode and finale in all of Power Rangers. Countdown to Destruction. I am not kidding. This is the biggest two-parter story in the entire series. Yes, even those. I literally cannot watch this finale without having my jaw drop at some point. But what I do love is that this finale isn't one where the world is at stake. No. The whole entire universe is at stake. And they pull out all the stops. There's the Alien Rangers, Blue Centurion, Gold Zeo, and Phantom Ranger. I also love that they bring back a lot of the monster suits too. Look, there's Pumpkin Rapper, Fearog, Goofish, Octophantom, and who could forget Wolfgang Amadeus Griller? And it never hit me until now how big the Army of Evil really is. Heck, it gets so bad for even the rebels that Zhane leaves them. Oh, right, to get the Rangers. But he can't even go anywhere without bumping into Velocifighters. All the Rangers get amazing shots and moments during their battles. And seeing all the civilians worry, and Bulk standing up to remind them of the Rangers' sacrifices really gets to me. And I always feel my heart get tugged when they all stand up and call themselves Power Rangers. But even still, the moment where Bulk and Skull shake hands and lead the people to help the Rangers always gets me teary-eyed when watching. They've really come a long way since the first episode. And gosh, this whole two-parter is so much fun.
You have a front row seat to the end of your era.
Oh, you have no idea how right that is. And boy, do they drag out that scene, with Andros finally completing his mission to find Zordon, and then immediately being told to kill him. And even with Caron's confusing death scene, the choir and music always gets the tears going for me. And while Andros has a quick turnaround about killing Zordon, I always cry during this scene, since he's been with us for 6 years, being like a father to us all. And seeing all the evil be destroyed here is such an ending. And I always interpreted the Rangers demorphing here as their powers being taken away permanently. But we learn in the next season, they still have them and can morph. I should also mention how sappy this ending is, but this is still a kid's show. But the whole magical healing tears? Really, guys? I think the whole fan base can agree that was a stupid addition. You could have either had her dead, showing the true risk of being a ranger, or showed her change back with the Z-Wave, but her life just needed a minute to reset. And apparently there was also a scene that was cut from this episode.
A real intimate scene between Carlos and Ashley?
No. A scene between Andros and Ashley that was supposed to happen in this finale. And I think it was in this scene where Andros was about to leave to get his sister, or while they were on KO 35 and about to part ways. But this is quite honestly the best ending in the entire series, with the team united, returning to Earth, and just being together after so much has happened to them. Seriously, every time I watch these episodes, I always have to remind myself to take a breath at the end of it.
My home is with you guys.
Now, the one, or rather two things I hated in this season are the previously on and next time on segments, just because they're pointless. Like, I get it. You want to hype up the next episodes, but half the time they spoil the big twists for the next episode. I swear, I didn't edit this. This is how it is for the first episode.
Next time on Power Rangers in Space. Power down!
Yeah, if it were me in the editing room, I would have just kept Andros' appearance a secret for that episode. Although, I can understand why they did it, as he's unmorphed throughout most of that episode. Also, they had a missed opportunity to bring back the Robo Rangers from Power Rangers Turbo. Just putting that out there, because we don't really get any conclusion for those guys. And that was Power Rangers in Space. It has its flaws, but...
The best season ever.
Well, yeah, but there are still a few issues that...
The best season ever.
Come on, Chris. This is serious. I would say...
The best season ever.
You know what? Who cares? Yes, this season has some flaws, but out of the entire Zordon era, it is the best season of Power Rangers. Heck, if I grew up with this instead of Dino Thunder, I would probably say that this season would be my favorite. This season has so much action, so much tension, and so much character in every episode. I love rewatching this season just to see the moments like the Psycho Rangers, Astronema and Zhane's date, and the entirety of Countdown. And in this season, there's so much to love and enjoy, and you can't say that it's uninteresting or boring. Go check it out and see for yourself. Or, if you have seen it, go watch it again. Believe me, there's something for everybody to love in this season. So anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Sorry that this was a very long one, but it is a big season, and this is a big video for it. Be sure to leave a like if you want to see more Power Ranger review videos. I do want to talk about the other seasons. Don't forget to leave a comment, let me know what you want me to talk about next. Subscribe if you haven't, and ring that bell for notifications. Also, check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter at PRNerd_official, and follow me on TikTok as well. May the power protect you all, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it away, Rangers!
Let's rock it!